First of all, ladies and gentlemen and children, thank you for taking some time this morning to come and listen to what I have to say to you. I've written a little piece which I will read out, and then I'll do my usual lecturing that I do from the research that I've done afterwards, and hopefully I might inspire you to ask a few questions. You see before you this morning a man who is 3.5 inches shorter than he was 5 years ago. I hope this morning to give you first an outline of my life, early life, which I've called rags, then moving on to riches in my business life, and final part is my life living well with cancer, and it's called Faith, Hope and Charity. The struggle in my early life began when my father left my mother when she was 6 months pregnant with me. He obviously had a good vision. They were married and lived in Scunthorpe. My father went home to London and I was never to see him. My mother divorced and remarried again 4 years later to a guy who was to make me the man that I am today. Donald Cass was an ex-Marine commando in 40 Command. He was there for me every step of my early life. In fact, all of my life while I was at home. As life was not tough enough, he fell 20 feet onto concrete and was to do light work for the rest of his life. At grammar school, I was taught maths and technical drawing by Mr. Thornley. He guided me through to A-levels, doing maths and technical drawing. I got a place to do maths at Southampton University, but then my parents said they could not afford for me to go to university. So I went and got a job as a draftsman at a local railway engineering company. Whilst there, I did some rail track design work, including a rail link into Aberthaw Power Station in South Wales. And then I was asked to go down there to supervise the construction. I think they were worried that I designed it and it wouldn't work, so they thought put the onus on me. Whilst there, I was headhunted by a South Wales company who doubled my salary, gave me a new car every year, and paid my accommodation. It was a no-brainer. I became their senior engineer at the age of 21. We were working on most of the coal, steel and oil industry sites within South Wales. I was working 7 days a week, always volunteering to be the one to work weekends and holidays. I was once again headhunted. By this time, they were much larger companies. But I had a vision that one day I would own this company that I'd worked for 30 years. And that's the section that I call rags. I go into what I call riches. After 23 years with the company, my opportunity came. The two owners fell out and wanted to collapse the company. In 1989, I went to the bank pleading poverty. Well, I had no money. But I had a belief in the company and myself. I convinced them to loan me £250,000 to buy the company with a personal guarantee from me of $25,000. You try doing that today. By 1999, I'd taken the company, within 4 months, I'd turned the company around and was able to repay the loan in full. In the second year of business, we made £1 million profit on a turnover of 3 million. In subsequent years, profits never fell below 300,000. By 1999, I'd taken the company as far as I could and was preparing to ask my engineers if they wanted to do a management buyout. Then out of the blue came a phone call from John Molan PLC. They wanted a railway arm to add to their civil business. The sale was agreed on the 22nd of October 1999, and suddenly my personal bank account had riches in it that I could never have dreamed of from those early days. I was now a director in the rail division of a PLC company. Whilst there, I designed and built the longest rail welding plant in the UK down in Eastleigh, Southampton. I was the director in charge of a section of the new Channel rail link from Ashford to St Pancras. Then in 2000, a new managing director was appointed who had infinitely less money than myself, was driving a Volvo whilst I had alongside my Mercedes, and knew only a fraction about railways that I knew. He decided that the directors would have meetings in Bracknell, not too far from here, at 9 a.m. on Monday mornings and 3:30 on Friday. Well, getting to Bracknell from Cardiff at 9 a.m., if anyone's ever travelled that M4 corridor, you know exactly why I wouldn't want to do that. So at lunchtime during one of these meetings, I went to see my son who was studying maths at St John's College, Cambridge. He was studying for his PhD in statistics. He said, "Dad, take a look at your bank balance, go home to Cardiff and enjoy your life." My working life ended there. I was now 53 years old and free as a bird. I intended to wear a pair of flip-flops and a pair of shorts and become a beach bum, travelling around, starting at Barbados because it is one of my favourite relaxation places in the world. Now I come on to the third section, which I call Faith, Hope and Charity, and I'll explain right at the end why I call it that. In 2006, my life fell apart. I had a cancer that no amount of money could cure. I was diagnosed with what they call metastatic prostate cancer. It means it started there and it just spread elsewhere. I was told at that time that I had 18 to 24 months to live. Wow. How would I tell my 4 children, this invincible man, this man who had made all the decisions for the family, was about to die? My grandson, who'd been born 3 years earlier, would never remember his grandfather. And who was going to sort out the mess in my garage? Now I was facing another difficult phase in my life, but one which I couldn't win. I started researching everything and anything about prostate cancer, and in 2007 I founded the Red Sock campaign and dedicated my life to helping all those affected by prostate cancer. I travelled the world, funded by myself, going to cancer hospitals to see how they dealt with cancer patients. The Princess Margaret Hospital in Toronto gave me the inspiration that allowed me to live in harmony with my cancer, as we had to share the same body for the rest of my life, however long that was going to be. Back in the UK, I found myself travelling around the country talking to groups about prostate cancer, visiting and making friends with many men who were subsequently to die of prostate cancer. I saw far too many men in those last few months of their lives. I saw their pain. I saw the destruction of a once healthy body. And I saw a family who had their men taken away from them far too early. In 2013, unbeknown to myself, 2 professors of oncology nominated me for the MBE. It was a great humility and an honour that I accepted the award from our Queen, Queen Elizabeth II. I continued to share my body with this dreadful disease. I was able to exercise without restriction, eat whatever I pleased, and drank Malbec to excess on many occasions. In May 2017, that's just a year ago, isn't it? All that was to change again. New activity was found in my prostate, so I was given a month of radiotherapy. I was fitted with a catheter, which I was to carry around with me for 10 months. It was great if you were going on long journeys and you were desperate to go for a pee. You just didn't have to bother. You weren't rushing around to find the toilet. You weren't crossing legs or doing what men do. No, I just sat there and, yes. So it has advantages, I suppose. And then in August 2017, my kidneys weren't draining properly. So I underwent surgery for the first time ever in my life to fit bilateral stents from my kidneys into the bladder. They did a tube at the same time, thank you very much, which is scraping the inside of my prostate. And the good news about that was they could take the catheter out and I was back weeing like a 17-year-old. I couldn't quite reach the target that I remember we had in school in the urinal, but there we go. Then in October 2017, I was diagnosed with a high-grade strain of sepsis. And if you've ever heard or know anyone who's had sepsis, it's not a good place to be. My youngest son, Matthew, was told to gather the family together as they didn't expect me to live beyond the next 2 hours. A central line was inserted through my neck down to my heart so they could pump some drugs in to see if they could sort that out. And hey presto, you can guess, I survived. I was 2 weeks in intensive care, but that was great. I hadn't to do anything. Whatever incontinence I had a personal nurse there to help me. But it wasn't a pleasant time really at all, but fantastic help. In January 2018, I was told that the cancer had now spread to nearly all the bones in my body except for my skull. And I've been told that I got 6 to 12 months to live. Well, you can see that I'm wasting away. Here I am today before you, determined to carry on my awareness and support work. Faith, I have faith in those that are treating me. Hope is that one day the men that follow me will find a cure. The researchers will find a cure for those men. Charity, please get given to charity. However bad you feel about it and however much money you think goes to running their organizations, it is the charities that bring in the most research, pay for most of the research into prostate cancer. And that's just the end of that part of it. I want to talk now about what I know about prostate cancer. You may have read recently that prostate cancer has now overtaken breast cancer as the biggest cancer killer. In men, 12,000 men a year die of prostate cancer. In the words of Professor Kirby in Harley Street, who was a good friend of mine, that's 1,000 men a month. 3 jumbo jets full of men crashing every month, no survivors. Quite a daunting prospect. Branson loses 1 aeroplane with 1 man in the Arizona desert and spends millions looking for him. Theresa May announced last week that she's going to spend £75 million over the next 5 years looking at diagnostic tools and a screening tool for prostate cancer. I already know what that screening tool should be, and I'll come on to that shortly. Why is prostate different to breast cancer? In the sense that breasts are on the outside of the body, the prostate is on the inside of the body, so you can't see it. What does the prostate do? The prostate has the ability to change glutinous semen into a liquid form for ejaculation. Unfortunately, the prostate has the urethra, what we pee through, which is the link from the penis, from the bladder to the penis, and that is where the trouble occurs. In fact, because as it gets larger, because of the growth inside there, it can keep the urethra, and removal of the prostate is difficult because I have to cut the urethra at both ends and then stretch it like a piece of wire. Now, how should we approach it? I don't know if you've heard of what's called the PSA test, prostate specific antigen test. What they do is they take some blood and they give you a score, and usually a score of less than 1 in a man under the age of 50, provided it's consistent year on year, he is a man at a very low risk of prostate cancer. Men whose PSA is over 50, and my PSA was 125 in 2006, are in the high risk group, and we know that they have cancer. It's the men in the middle, the intermediates, we have trouble with, or they have trouble with. I don't. They also they seem to rush in to do biopsies. I am against rushing in to do biopsies, but they do a biopsy, hopefully to hit the tumour and get a sample out of the tumour. And they do about 12 at a time. Very unpleasant, but manageable, because it's through the back passage and they're firing in. And you can feel the firing in, but little else. And they give you a grade of cancer at that point. And the grading goes from 1 to 10. Anything but 6 or below, that's fine. And they're called Gleasons. And I had a Gleason 9 out of 10. If I was still in school, 9 out of 10 was a good mark, but not for prostate cancer. And that was when I was first diagnosed. So I lived 11 years just on hormone therapy. Okay, the side effects I started to manage. Really, it was like, well, it was in fact going through the male menopause, which is called the andropause. Yet women go through the menopause. Why do they not call it a womanopause and let us men have our own? Now, how can I tell you what you should do this morning? The women are just as important in this as the men. I believe that men, when they reach the age of 40, should go and have not have a PSA test, sorry, have a digital rectal examination. However uncomfortable you are with that, I'm telling you, your physician would get more information from that than he would from the blood test. The next step would be, if indicated, because he can feel whether the texture of the prostate gland, and he can also feel the size of the prostate gland. So I'm talking about the whole health of the prostate gland. So the next stage, and I think in London most men, this is how most men are treated, they go for what's called a multiparametric MRI scan, a super sensitive scan that will highlight the probable areas of any tumours. And then we do a biopsy. And that should be the order in which it's done. And you know, I believe that these 12,000 lives that we lose every year could be saved. I've got 3 sons and 2 grandsons now. They will not die in ignorance. Whether they go for DREs and PSAs and biopsies is up to them. Men will be reluctant to go for a DRE. It's up to the women to drag them along. Make that appointment for the man in your life. Because people looking at me, I hope they would think there's a man that looks fit and healthy. But I'm not. And I know it's going to be an horrific death. I've already booked myself into a hospice for the last month because I don't want my children to be doing the things for me that were done for me when I was in intensive care. So my take-home message is, pass the message on to everyone in your family about being tested for prostate cancer. Reject the PSA test until the DRE and multiparametric MRI scan. The MRI scan is the most important thing. I know I was giving a talk to 50, an audience of over 50, around 50 black men in Cardiff a couple of months ago. And to a man, they said, no one is putting a finger where a finger is not supposed to go. So my message to them was small m, small p, large M, large I, R, large I, multiparametric MRI scan. And they all wrote it down and they all said that's where they would go. So fingers crossed they will. And why do I say black men? Because black men are 4 times more likely to get prostate cancer than white men. Trinidad and Tobago, the death rate of prostate cancer there is 3 times higher than anywhere else in the world. In Britain we manage it, but the death rate in America is falling 3 times quicker than it is here in the UK. And why is that? Because men are more, well, they have health insurance, so they go to their GPs. I also believe that GPs should send a letter out to every man and every woman once they reach the age of 40 and say, here is your appointment date to come and see me to have a well person check. Please confirm within a month that you're going to attend. If they do not attend, you know you don't have to waste time waiting for them, but you still make an appointment for them the following year. I'm concerned that we talk about prostate cancer as if it's something that is going to kill every man. I like to think of it as being a health check that tells you you do have a healthy prostate. And for over 97% of men, that will be true. But we need to find those 3% that need treatment. You know, I'll go back to the figures again. 12,000 men a year, 1,000 men a month in the UK dying of prostate cancer. It's not good enough. We need to get that figure right down. And if we have these checks, yearly checks, annual checks, then you stand a better chance of catching this. Once again, in the words of Professor Kirby, there is a window of opportunity of a cure for prostate cancer. You miss that window, it cannot be cured. So please, my take-home message with you is to pass the message on about prostate cancer. Don't end up like this man here, who is going to die in the next 6 months. Because I never knew about prostate cancer. It was only by chance. A friend said, go and have a PSA test. She was much younger than me, so she said I was becoming an old git. I was still in my 50s, for goodness sake. But I went to the doctor and had a PSA of 125. Ladies, gentlemen, children, thank you for listening this morning. I hope I've given you a flavour. If you want more, I do have a website. It's called the Red Sock Campaign, or you just Google my name. And please, if you have any concerns, get in touch with me through the mobile phone, leave a message. I do everything myself. We are now, Red Sock is worldwide. I have over 4,000 people who I'm helping currently with prostate cancer. Thank you all. Any questions?
Thank you, Keith. I hope you all learned a lesson from that.